Bride of Frankenstein.
I found out something interesting today. Do you know there have been more Frankenstein movies than there have been Dracula films? And really by a wide margin, too. Last year's film, Frankenstein, the Del Toro film that was released on Netflix, but also briefly in the theaters, that was one of the best movies I saw last year. It was a visual masterpiece. Now, this past weekend gave us the release of another film in the Frankenstein universe. This one's called The Bride. It's a modern-day reimagining of the original Bride of Frankenstein movie from way back in the 1930s. And so what do we have here? Is The Bride another excellent continuation to Frankenstein lore, or is this one, well, cheesy, shitty, crappy? Well, before we answer that, let's talk a little bit about the plot for the film, The Bride.
Please, let's talk.
Well, here we are in the 1930s, Chicago. Here we find a woman being assaulted by a couple men. She's thrown down the stairs, and she dies. Then we see Frankenstein's monster. He is searching for a scientist to help him create a companion, someone to spend time with. They dig up this woman's recently deceased corpse, reanimate her, and Frankenstein is happy. However, after being brought to life, the bride quickly decides she'd rather not spend eternity fulfilling the purpose someone else literally stitched together for her. And what follows is a strange, wandering journey through the city's criminal underworld as the monster and his newly independent creation try to figure out who or what they're supposed to be. So what works in this film? Well, the film's saving grace is its two leads. Jessie Buckley, who plays the bride, throws herself into the role with chaotic energy, making the character unpredictable, wild, and oddly compelling. Opposite her, Christian Bale brings a surprising amount of melancholy to the monster, giving the creature a quiet sadness that actually grounds the film whenever he's on screen. When Buckley and Bale share scenes, the movie briefly hints at being fascinating, being an offbeat monster romance. Also, some of the 1930s set pieces are pretty well done, very realistic, pretty dark and gritty.
I've got bad news for you, my dear.
What doesn't work, however, is the direction by Maggie Gyllenhaal. She's directing this film. It is all over the place. The film constantly shifts tones, sometimes gothic horror, sometimes quirky crime story, sometimes art house fever dream, and it never quite settles on what it wants to be. It often feels less like a cohesive version and more like several different movies stitched together, which I suppose is thematically appropriate for a Frankenstein story. And the writing doesn't help matters either. Dialogue tends to explain the film's themes with the subtlety of a flashing neon sign. Characters frequently announce exactly what the movie is trying to say, and just in case anyone in the audience somehow missed it the first 3 times. The feminist messaging at the center of this story isn't the issue in itself, it's the execution. Instead of weaving themes naturally into the narrative, the script repeatedly stops everything so the film can remind you of its point. Don't worry if you understood it already. The movie will happily explain it again and again just to be safe. Every male character is either incompetent or evil or both. And every female character is either a victim or a girl boss or somehow both. And listen, if you're a modern day progressive female, you may like this movie. However, if you are literally anyone else, you will not. This film is sadly a typical example of 2026 Hollywood feminism. It just beats you over the head constantly. It doesn't allow you to think things through yourself. It tells you what it wants you to think and feel. And by doing that, it's really not a piece of entertainment. It's a lecture disguised as entertainment and poorly disguised. In the end, The Bride has two very committed performances from two really good actors doing their best to electrify a movie that often feels oddly lifeless. Buckley and Bale bring real spark, but the messy direction, the clunky writing, and the extremely on-the-nose messaging keep the film from becoming the bold reinvention it clearly thinks it is. Sometimes less is more, but The Bride seems determined to prove that subtlety is for cowards. And honestly, it's probably the worst movie I've seen in the past year.
I hated it.
So, that's all I have for you this week. Tune in next week where I give you my thoughts and feelings on whatever I've seen. In the meantime, click that like button, subscribe, leave a comment or a question, share this video with friends and enemies alike, and as always, thank you for giving me your valuable time. And I'll see you next week, hopefully with something better. Take care.